Hey there, this is Jenny, your Vintage Soul Crafter. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I thought I would check in with all of you on the One Book July 2017 challenge that I took up and the Vintage Memory Envelope Book. Vintage Envelope Memory Book. Maybe that makes more sense. Can't quite figure out how to put that together. It's a kind of a semi-junk journal. And my mom it's for my mom after she gave me this big box of all kinds of letters from my granny to her home after she was in college the first year, her freshman year. There's a bunch of pictures and so forth. And then it also contains various different memorabilia and items that I already had in my possession, and was inspired to create this book, to put it all together, to preserve the integrity of the items as much as I possibly could by sticking them into envelopes, into tuck spots, and so on. So yeah, it could be considered a junk journal. There are places where my mom can jot notes down if she so chooses and desires, but it doesn't have to be for that. So that's why I've been kind of calling it a book instead of a junk journal. But it is a junk journal as well, because there's a lot of, not what I would call junk. Some people might call it junk, but I certainly would not. It's very special. This has meant a lot to me, making it, looking through the photos, looking through the letters, reading them, and, just discovering things like my granny, when she would write home, would refer to her grandma, my grandma, her mom, as Mamsie. Dear Mamsie, she would say. And it just cracks me up because my granny had an incredibly great sense of humor. She was hysterical and she could tell stories. And one of my favorite stories was of her and my granddaddy. And I don't remember exactly the details of it, but laughing so hard and the bed collapsed. And then they laughed even harder after that. That's probably so jumbled up and doesn't mean much to you. But anyway, so these are, this will all come together and be bound in this book cover set that was part of a larger group of books that were absolutely falling apart. So I finished disassembling them and thought that they would make the perfect cover for this memory book. And yeah, wish me luck getting all of this in there. I think I can do it. I think I have a plan. There are 3 signatures, but as you can see, pretty darn fatty. And there's nothing I want to remove. There's nothing I want to take out of this. I'm almost done. This is the 3rd signature right here. It's almost completely finished. I'm not going to go into detail on this particular video since it's not fully done, but I did want to share with you where I'm at and to also just give you an idea of what I've been doing and the progress that I've made on this memory book. So without further ado, I will do a semi-flip, quick flip, we'll call it, and begin at the beginning because that seems like a good place to begin, doesn't it? I think I went over some of this, the first signature, and shared that in another video when I first said and talked about doing this challenge for the One Book July. And so this was a photocopy of a poetry book that I have that I believe belonged to my granny. I cannot remember if my granddaddy, her husband, gave it to her or if it was a gift from his mom, my great-grandmother. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, this is a photocopy of the cover of the book. Very old book. I'm not sure if you say Edna St. Vincent Millay. It looks like Malay, but I think it's Welsh and I think it's Malay. I'm not 100% sure and I don't want to mess it up any further if I already have. So I'm not going to repeat it. But anyway, this is the flap. I used a lot of these flaps. I think they add interest and texture and dimension and can be useful for tucking things in for the book. You can see here that in this very first part of it, I have some incredibly old I'm going to start keeping count of the words that I say. Like, that's the second time I've said incredibly, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. It's late, you guys. I'm tired. I've tried to do this video a couple times and just have not succeeded for one reason or another. So please bear with me. This is my great-grandma and great-grandpa Harrison and Corda, short for Cordelia McCammon. As you can see, that's 1898. And then this is also a picture of them. That's one of those tins. I'm not sure the proper name. If you remember or know, please feel free to leave that in the comments. So these are craft envelopes that I already had. So I took those items, my granny's library card. I'm not going to pull out all the pictures right now. High school, as you can see her high school senior play that she was in. This is from another book of poems that I had that I think belonged to my granny, but it may have belonged to my great aunt, her sister. Not 100% sure, but I made some photocopies because they were marked, so obviously they were favorites, and I included those in here. And this was definitely my granny's book my mom gave to me, Anne's House of Dreams, Anna at Green Gables. And so there's some various quotes and things tucked away in here, and making use of, you know, all the different spots. There is some, like, old, you guys, old. I almost said incredibly again. Did you catch it? 1925. There's some even older items. I'm pretty sure I saw something from 1915. Well, you saw that one picture. That's 1829, I think was the date on that. So, yeah, just such sweet memorabilia and legacy. I'm so thankful to my ancestors that they kept a lot of the items that meant something to them, because they really mean something to me. My family was in large part from Indiana, so a piece of the, I think I shared this before, a piece of the Indiana sheet music that my mom back home again in Indiana gave to me. It was falling apart. It was in pieces and tattered. So that is one item that I did use for this. I'm not going to flip through all these pictures because I do want my mom to be somewhat surprised when she receives this. So I'm going to kind of guard and protect here a little bit of what I share. And she'll get an inkling if she sees this video, but she won't get to see the whole thing. This is the second signature, and this one kind of goes into the more middle stages of my granny's life. My granddaddy sadly died when he was only 55. I never got the joy of meeting him or getting to know him. I'm the youngest, fourth and youngest of a family of four. Obviously, if you can do math or count at all, you figured that out on your own. But anyway, he passed away, and very young. And so my granny had to do a large part of her life without the love of her life. And that's what this center section is. It's memorabilia and items, again, that were in that box that were part of my granny's life. Not all of them, but for the most part, I tried to do this in some sequence of events that makes sense. And of course, the cardinal is the state bird of Indiana. My granny loved Coca-Cola and used to have a Coke every day in those little bottles that I think they still have. And there is a picture of her. I think this was probably when she was teaching, around that middle portion of her life. So I included it in this section. She loved Lilies of the Valley. That was her favorite, if not one of her favorites. One of her favorites, if not her favorite, is what I meant to say. So that's a little button kind of cameo there that I included. And she took French, so this has a letter home regarding her French class and some of her struggles with that, which was another surprise to me in my going through all of these items, was that my granny struggled a little bit in her freshman year of college with her grades. And that definitely was like, what? You know, because I just always kind of figured my granny did well in school and it wasn't a challenge for her at all. But apparently that's not the case. I mean, I said almost said incredible again. Did you catch it? We're going to play a game and see how many times you can catch I almost say incredible or incredibly. bright woman, and an artist. These are some of her sketches. She would probably disagree with me that she was a good artist, but she was. You can't really see it too well. It's a hand, but anyway. And then there's little tuck spots, you know, for the envelope here and there in different places in here where you can see these old letters and so forth. And yeah, there's a Lily of the Valley card. I'm not sure if this one was an actual, yeah, this one was an actual playing card, but that wasn't hers. That was just a little piece of ephemera that I got to include in it, since it had this lovely Lily of the Valley image and also has green around the edge of it. Her favorite colors, we believe, were green and golds and sort of toned down shades of that. So that's what I've tried to use in this book. And those were also some of my favorite colors. Gold, orange, and green are my favorite colors. You might have caught a glimpse of some sheet music on the very back. I don't want to show that. I do want it to be a surprise. It's some other sheet music that my mom shared with me, again, that was just falling apart. So I did use that one as well, in addition to the home again in Indiana. And this is my granddaddy and my mom's dad. And so that's the beginning of the second signature. And then this is the final signature, and this goes into my mom's life a little bit, because there was this card that was included in the box. Jane was born, and there was a heat wave in Indiana at that time. And so she was born September 8th, I'm not going to say it because you don't share a woman's age, even if she is your mom. So anyway, I just thought it would be sweet. I have and already had a bunch of baby pictures of her, and then there were also some in that box that she gave me, and another cardinal. I think this is one of those tea cards or trading cards or something or other. This isn't an actual playing card, but very sweet and appropriate, so I included it. And it also seemed, you know, appropriate to include this Tim Holtz cardstock with the eggs, since this is about life and the life of my mom and her coming into the world back in 19... So anyway, this one is the last, probably said that, third, again, if you can do math, signature. And I am not going to share this whole entire thing, but it's just about done. And then I will put them all together and bind them. But this has lots of pictures of my mom as a little girl. Absolutely adorable. Her dad, my granddaddy, was a bit of a photographer. Not a bit. He actually was published apparently in Life, according to my mom, in a couple of newspapers. And you'll see more of that when I share in more detail the last signature, or the first signature rather. And he loved, of course, to take pictures of his sweet little girl and his beloved, my granny, his wife. And there's a picture of him there. I love my mom's pouty little face. I couldn't put that, not let that show, so I used some vellum and created this little holder, picture holder right here for that. So yeah. And a few more pictures as we progress in my mom's life of her and her brother, my Uncle Joe, who's no longer with us either. He also passed away quite young. You guys, I'm starting to get like choked up as I share this with you even. These have been really precious memories for me to go through and learn so many new things about my granny and even my mom, because some of the letters that were in the box were letters that my mom wrote home to my Aunt Jackie, my granny's sister, as well as to my grandma, their mom, Corda, the one in the picture that I showed you at the very beginning, 1829, I think it was. And so some of her letters that she wrote to them while we were little and lived in Germany while my dad was in the Navy. And yeah, it's been quite a journey making this book. And so I'm really thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful, incredibly thankful for the legacy that has been left to me by my ancestors, not just through the items that have been left, but also the memories, knowing what kind of people they were, the character that they had, that they were people who loved Jesus. And so anyway, getting all nostalgic. This little paper clip makes me even nostalgic because I love to play at my granny's desk that she had, and she always had, you know, they always had these flat, round, back in the day paper clips. And so even these little doodads of seemingly nothingness bring upon nostalgic memories and sweet thoughts to me. So anyway, this section, I'm not gonna complete it. Like I said, I want there to be some surprises, and it's not 100% done just yet. But this is the section that is my mom's life, and then goes into the end of my granny's life as well. And this is the last part that I got into. I have a plan for the last couple of pages, but this is the part that I finished today. And so I'm gonna end here. We're just over 15 minutes in, and it seems like a good place to end anyhow. And I want you guys to come back and join me when I get this all together and assembled, and I will take you through it, hopefully in one part instead of having to do multiple videos. I still haven't really figured out the best way to use the video editor, but that's all right. We'll keep working out these details as we go. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for the opportunity to share my sweet memories with you. And I look forward to seeing your sweet memories on YouTube if you have a channel on here. And I follow you, which I follow so many. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks again.